think let people in and we can just still welcome them.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna do that. hmm Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. We can just let people roll on in a little bit more before we start things going.
Ready? What do you think?
May
Should we, got recording
yeah, I
started? Yep.
think yeah, recording is started and yeah, I think we're ready to go. People might just keep trickling in and that's okay.
Great. Well, cool. Why don't we get started then? Thanks everybody for attending. I think this is our 85th Coffee and Climate, which is crazy. So here we're celebrating 5 years of One Climate Future. So for those who don't know me, I'm Troy Moon. I'm the Director of Sustainability for the City of Portland, and joined by my colleague today, Julie Rosenbach from South Portland, and our teams, which I'll talk. So we have Katie Timms from Portland and Carly Meyer from Portland. And Julie, you want to introduce your team?
Yes, I have a fantastic team with me. Megan Daly is on and Julie Taft. And in the background is our backup singer, Nina.
Great. So again, thanks again for coming. We're going to today, Julie and I are going to spend a few minutes kind of talking about One Climate Future, the 5 years of work that we've been doing, and then maybe some thoughts about where things might go in the next 5 years. And our hope is to get things wrapped up in time so we can have some conversation, questions about what we've done so far, and some suggestions and thoughts maybe from the community about, priorities for moving into the next 5 years. So I'll move on. Just a refresher. So, One Climate Future was adopted by both the Portland and South Portland City Councils in November of 2020. It took us almost 2 years to develop it. We spent a lot of time doing community engagement, meeting community members, attending events, hosting events, and just having lots of conversations. I think we had by the time we were done with developing the plan, we had over 100 separate types of community engagement. So it was really important to us that we take the time as we develop the plan to really make it focused on the priorities that we heard from community members, because we really saw One Climate Future, and we continue to see One Climate Future really as a community-oriented, people-based plan. The reason we do the work we do is because the people in our communities are the priority. That's why we have infrastructure. That's why we have programs, is to support our communities and make Portland and South Portland a really wonderful place to live. And so in doing that, we identified, working with the members, 68 different strategies across four key areas, which, of course, building energy and transportation, land use, waste reduction, and adaptation and resilience. And as part of that planning, we kind of our overarching goal is try to reduce community-wide greenhouse gas emissions 80% by 2050, and then working to run our communities on 100% clean energy for municipal operations by 2040. So a lot of work to do. I think we'll touch on some of the progress, and then there's clearly a lot of work to do, and which we'll be continuing to work on in the future. So I'll pass it over to Julie.
So, you know, developing this plan was a great feat in and of itself. And then what this plan has enabled us to do over the past 5 years has been incredible. And because we have this plan, we were able to hit the ground running with so many different projects and policies that we spent, developing while we were writing this plan. So we've been able to make meaningful and tangible progress. And right now, about 70% of the strategies identified in One Climate Future, which some of them were slated for near term, 2020 to 2025, some midterm 20, the next 5 years, and then the next five. Um, Even with that, we have 70% of our strategies underway in both cities. Because we have this plan, I could preface everything by saying, because we have this plan, what it's enabled us to do is to leverage a significant amount of grant funding. So we've been able to have a really high impact with minimal tax burden. Both cities have gotten, over the past 5 years, because One Climate Future has been in place, 32 grants totaling over $5 million to do this work.
Yeah, and just some examples of those include some joint grants that we received. For instance, we're current, we can talk more about this particular project. We got a community action grant to work on some resilience. That was a joint application for $175,000. We've got infrastructure grants, some of them well over $1 million, and just numerous smaller grants. But again, some of the criteria for getting the grants or having a city adopted climate action plan and having a vulnerability assessment. So the fact that we had done this work is what made it possible to receive, many of these grant dollars. So this underscores the
It,
importance.
Yep. In infrastructure and construction, a lot of grants talk about you can apply for this money if you have shovel-ready projects. And what One Climate Future enabled us to do is have shovel-ready programs and policies that we just need to, put the details in and finalize and apply for grant funding for. So it's been a fantastic map for us.
Yeah, and certainly over the course of the 5 years, we've done a lot of work on capacity. So back when Julie and I first started, when Link Planet Future was just beginning to be a thought, our offices were Troy and Julie. So we've come a long way in the interim. So we incrementally have added team members. So currently we're up to between the we each Julie and I each have two full-time staff members, so a total of six full-time staff in Portland and South Portland, working on climate action plans and initiatives. But we also have we've been really lucky to have Resilience Corps fellows who are AmeriCorps staff members that are recruited by the Greater Portland Council of Governments, and we host them and we have them for a whole year. So it adds a tremendous amount of capacity to our offices, and our Resilience Corps fellows have just done amazing work, and it's adding, different, bringing their strengths and their commitment to service to our communities. It's just been really incredible. And I think it's really important, our One Climate Future and, our offices have really been kind of launch pads for, to, you know, develop the next generation of climate leaders and people. And, a lot of our alums from our offices have gone on, are going on to do really amazing things. So I know Ashley Krulik, who was our first sustainability associate in Portland, now is the leader of the Community Action Grant Program and the community partnership at the state with MOCA. And Casey Zorn, who is a fellow in both Portland and South Portland, is leading business initiatives there. And Aaron works at the Department of Energy Resources. Um, we have so other alumni, Lucy Perkins and Peyton Seiler Jones have a resilience consultancy and are doing work in cities all around the East Coast of the United States. And we have fellows at the Island Institute. So it's really been really impressive to see where alums from our offices and our programs are going to help continue to do the work that they started here. And we can't say enough about expanding capacity with staff members, really departments and fellow colleagues in both South Portland and in Portland are really embracing One Climate Future, and we leading initiatives like our planning departments are really taking the program to heart and helping to implement new policies that achieve One Climate Future objectives. And we certainly couldn't, we talk all the time that we can't do we can't do this work alone. So we need community members, we need staff members, and we're really excited that people are sticking up. And then in terms of engagement, we've really had the opportunity to get out in the public and talk about climate action, talk about One Climate Future. So like I mentioned, this is the 85th 85th Coffee and Climate. So we really appreciate having the opportunity to have a monthly conversation with members of the community about climate action and topics. And, we get a lot of engagement on social media, which is really wonderful. So we really appreciate that. And then again, partnerships. Is this one yours, Julie? Or
No,
you
go
want to
ahead.
jump in?
I was
So
just I was
yeah,
just going to add that success begets success, and a great plan attracts great people who want to work on the plan. And right before we admitted you all into the waiting room, we were talking about how great all the team members are, and all of the partnerships that we've been able to do. Because we had so much community input into this plan, and we really laid out thoughtful, actionable items.
yeah, and the fact one of the things as we were developing One Climate Future, Julie and I were just talking about it. We realized, climate impacts don't stop at town borders and city limits. So we really thought about how do we make One Climate Future be kind of be a model for regional cooperation. So um, it really has, we've gotten a lot of attention from, communities around the country. Like, hey, how does it work to have two cities with a joint plan working together? And so it's a really unusual model. It's gotten a lot of attention. I think it's been really effective to have that, and it's allowed us to you know advocate for better policies around climate action, like better policies around solar, better policies around resilience, and then just like sharing lessons learned and learning from other communities too. Both Portland and South Portland are active members of the New England Municipal Sustainability Network and the Urban Sustainability Directors Network. We're able to share what we're learning, but also get a lot of input from colleagues around the country.
So now we've talked about sort of the plan has enabled us to have a big impact, and now we're going to talk about what has changed since, in the last 5 years, since we started implementing this plan. And when we were developing it, we said, well, let's not do an executive summary. How do we I mean, there's a lot of information in here. There's 68 strategies, but hundreds of action items within those strategies. And so we boiled it down into the 6 big moves. All of the strategies in One Climate Future are interconnected. They're all interwoven, and they interdependent as well. And so the 6 big moves um, are sort of like the cross-cutting initiatives that we would really boil everything down into. So we're going to start talking about things in terms of the 6 big moves. First big move is click. Can you advance the slide?
Yes. Sorry.
So the first big move is power everything with clean renewable energy. That's the first big move that's going to get us to the change that we need, to the net zero carbon emissions that we're striving for by 2050. Um, you know, Solar projects were one of the first thing. It wasn't the first thing, but it was one of the first big things that when Troy and I were single sustainability staff that we worked on together, getting joint solar projects onto our towns. And I tried to do it alone, and Troy tried to do it alone. And we found out that when we came together, we could save money and have sort of economies of scale. And get it done even better. And then we were able to use that to go up to the legislature and say, hey, the solar policy as it is, we were able to do it, but municipalities as a whole are not going to be able to do it. And here's what we can see needs to be changed and advocated for better solar policy. And so over the last 5 years, South Portland has developed 5 on-site arrays and 1 off-site array. And Portland has 4 on-site arrays and is a partner in 21 off-site arrays. And together, this has generated over 63 million kilowatt hours of solar power, clean, renewable energy. It has also saved the cities combined over $5 million.
Yeah, and the whole powering everything with clean renewable energy really is the backbone of the strategy to reduce carbon emissions. Like we're fortunate in Maine that we have a state that's adopted 100% RPS. So, let's electrify everything. Maybe we'll talk more about that, but that's the kind, if we're powering everything with clean electricity, we have clean energy on the grid. It makes things like EV charging that much more effective. We move transportation from gasoline and diesel into electric vehicles, electric transportation. So one of the things we've really focused on is trying to expand opportunities for people to drive EVs conveniently. So together, between the two cities, we now have 50 or more EV charging stations that help people be able to fuel their EVs conveniently. So both level two chargers strategically placed around neighborhoods and where people can get at them. Maybe if you live in an apartment building, hopefully there's a charger that's near you. Hopefully, definitely plans to install even more chargers, but we have a start, and we have in Portland now we have 8 DC fast chargers in the downtown. So the High Street location has 4, and then we just installed these new Joule chargers down next to Miss Portland Diner right at the end of 2025. So again, 8 fast chargers and 50 or more level 2 charging stations around, and
We
certainly more to come.
we I drove by them the other day with my kids, and they said, "What, did they name them after you?" And I said, of course, yes, they did. And as a, in addition to all of the chargers in Portland, South Portland, as a spoiler alert, is just about ready to launch 4 new level 2 EV chargers in
Yeah,
Legion Square Park in South Portland. If you don't know where that is, it's right across the street from Taco Trio. And so
nice.
it's within walking distance to Hannaford and the post office and City Hall and restaurants and all sorts of things. And so those will be up and running within the next couple of months.
Cool. That's going to be a great location. And then we mentioned electrify everything. Again, our initiative, we want to drive everything we can to electrify. So electrify homes, heating and cooling. We want to electrify transportation. That includes bikes as well as EVs. Bikes certainly add other value to getting people out of their cars and with non-motorized mobility around the city. So again, we've done a number of programs. We've had over $450,000 that we've generated mostly through grants that we've been able to distribute to almost 700 moderate and low income residents. So people have gotten support to buy e-bikes. People have gotten support to add heat pumps and lots of different energy efficiency appliances. And so again, we're going to continue to encourage and find resources, both financial and technical support to get people to help electrify their homes and move away from gas and heating oil into clean electricity for sure.
So,
Oh,
as
want to go
Troy
back?
said, yep, as Troy said at the beginning, this is a people plan, and so we have our goals to electrify everything, and then run the grid off of clean renewable energy. But it's a people plan, and so every program that we do, we are striving to help people help us meet these goals. And so this $450,000, I think primarily came from ARPA funding that we were able to redistribute to people and say, how can we help? How can we help people who might have a hard time adopting this technology, help better their lives and help us meet our goals?
So,
So the second of the 6 big moves is to build community resilience, and this has been a real focus over the last couple of years. Even before that, though, One Climate Future laid out several strategies that we've been implementing, including climate resilience overlay zoning, and Portland has added a lot of resilience into the new recode, and South Portland with our comprehensive plan update has really been able to hone in on the uh, the goals that we need to be aiming for. So part of what enabled this to happen was that we worked with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and NOAA and the Maine Geological Survey and others who developed this probably the most updated hydrodynamic flood modeling to date for Portland and South Portland and Damariscotta. And we were able to use that to say, okay, we know where we want to set our sites. By 2050, we are likely to see this much flooding, and by 2100 or 2120, we are likely to see this much flooding. And so we are going to be able to plan with more confidence and develop our policies with more confidence. And so this land use planning and zoning is a game changer for how we develop in our communities in order to ensure that buildings are going to be more resilient, are going to be flood proofed, or able to have water come through, but that people are going to be more protected. It's really forward thinking.
Yeah, and this is a great example of how coordination with other departments. Our both planning departments in both cities have been really engaged on the land use policy to make sure that we build resilience. And I remember being like right after we adopted One Climate Future, being so thrilled that our planning department just like took up working on the coastal flood resilience overlay zone. It was like as a priority, and certainly in South Portland, the planning department's been also very progressive and engaged on this process. So again, we can't do it ourselves. We have to have colleagues and
Right.
allied departments, and this resiliency planning is a super example of that collaboration between sustainability and other departments. Um,
Yeah, Troy, sorry, just before you move on real
yeah.
quick, here's another plug. Portland has developed and adopted their climate resilience overlay zoning. South Portland is still in the process, and we're having a city council workshop on February 10th to present it to the council and get feedback to either move it forward or make some tweaks and then move it forward. We're also finalizing our comprehensive plan update, which I think is going to be finalized in March or April. But all of these things are still taking public input. So if you want to know how exactly are we planning for resilience, what levels are we planning to be resilient to, these are the times that you can participate in this.
Cool. Yeah, and it's part like talking about, educating the public about what are the impacts of sea level rise and other impacts like high heat or stormwater flooding. What are those impacts? So we've had an opportunity to work with partners like the Gulf of Maine Research Institute to really develop education projects that both inform members of the public about where sea level rise might have the most impacts, but also to encourage collaboration with the public. So we have a program with GMRI where people can document flooding and post pictures and record data that's really useful as we think about moving forward. We have documentation like visual documentation and records submitted by community scientists to show like what the impacts of climate change are, and we can look at the photographs over time to see how things are changing and to make plans around that. So and also working on different types of story maps and education where people can go on to our websites and see, what are the boundaries of the coastal flood resilience overlay zone and what properties might be impacted by that. Different planning exercises where people have an opportunity to come and provide input, like Julie just mentioned about, what policies should we be enacting and how to move forward. And then just recently, in December, we launched in Portland our resilience education project, where we are trying to highlight, impacts of climate change, but also focusing on different elements of community infrastructure and how that makes us more safe, and like in how you know, infrastructure helps us adapt to climate change. So you can see the sign in the middle with the flood, like the illustration with the flooding. We have 60 signs around the city so far, with more to come that highlight 21 different types of infrastructure, whether they be, you know, constructed infrastructure like seawalls, but also natural infrastructure like eelgrass beds and community resilience infrastructure like splash pads that help people stay safe during hot weather. So there's so many different elements of resilience, and we're really trying to get the word out about what those are.
Yeah, building resilience is it's really an iterative process, and it's something to work towards year after year after year. After the January 2024 storms, I think everybody was worried and what do we have in place and what can we do right now? And luckily, because we had one climate future that was so forward thinking, we already had work going. We'd already started walking towards how to build better resilience, and so we've just built on that.
We already had a
So
we
that
already sorry, we already had a climate vulnerability assessment, which is many
Yep,
steps ahead of many communities. So
yep.
mm,
So again, this is a stepwise process, but having a plan that lays it all out for us has really made it easy to take the actions that we are taking. Well, not easy, but easier. Okay, so the third of the six big moves is waste reduction. I feel like it's more eloquent than that, but waste reduction is a general theme. And to that end, both cities have been doing a lot around waste reduction, including together introducing 15 free composting drop-off sites across both cities, where people can just bring their food waste and have it go for composting. Through this program, over the last 5 years, we've diverted over 3.6 million pounds of food scraps from the waste stream. So, it saves money, it saves resources in terms of turning food waste into compost, and it helps people build better practices overall for waste diversion. Um, so it's been in the community, I think we have in South Portland, we started with two sites and then we had to add another and another, and then we add bins at the sites because I think there's a really big call for ways to help people compost.
yeah, I'd say people just really embrace composting. It's like people, I think people understand the importance of it. It's like literally 40% of the waste stream in Portland and South Portland is generally organic material. So if you can get that out of trash bags and into food waste recovery program, a food scrap recovery program, it's really meaningful because it's certainly food waste is a huge contributor to carbon emissions globally. So like having an opportunity to eliminate those here is really important. And just the community engagement piece, like on the picture on the left-hand side is a picture of one of the drop-off sites on Peaks Island. And that is really, really a community-led effort. There's volunteers who literally bring the carts that are on the island to Garbage to Garden on their own initiative. So, and amazing community support for our program. And beyond composting, Portland and South Portland have been statewide leaders working with EcoMaine for many years on recycling. And Portland's residents in our communities are really, really good recyclers, and we're going to continue doing that. And again, we were strong advocates for the extended producer responsibility statute that was recently passed by the state legislature, and Maine was the first state in the nation to pass extended producer responsibility. And we'll probably next year we're going to start seeing the benefits of that with literally hundreds of thousands of dollars coming back to our communities to help support programs like composting and recycling, and hoping, hopefully with some more funding, we'll be able to make them even better.
And also, I talked about getting 32 grants and over $5 million in one of the first slides. As have gone through this, I could have said for so many different slides, and I'll start doing it now, but we got a grant for that. We got a grant for that. Because again, with smart programming and policies and the vulnerability assessment and the city council goals, backing all of this up, it makes it a lot easier to get some grants. So growing a sharing economy is also a really big part of what we're trying to do. And I want to highlight two programs from South Portland. The first is our South Portland Electric Tool Library, which we affectionately call the SPETL, which we introduced with a grant in 2023, probably. with about 18 tools. It's grown to 34 tools. And Joseph, who's in this photo, who runs it for us, and people can check out. We have all electric tools to help encourage people to go from gas-powered land care equipment to electric land care equipment, because two-stroke engines, which is in most land care equipment except for lawnmowers, is probably the most egregiously polluting equipment out there. And so we really want to help people do two things. One is make the move to electric. So if they're not sure about the technology, they can come check out a tool. They can try it out. And I don't think we've ever had anyone check out a tool and say, nope, this isn't for me. To a person, they've been like, yep, I think this is great. But the other piece of it is that maybe not everybody wants to own their own lawnmower, their own weed whacker or leaf blower. And so they can come and not have to own their own tool, but come and check it out when they need it. So that has been fantastic. Last season alone, we had over 360 tools checked out. And so there's as soon as they come in, they're checked right back out. It's fantastic. I think we bought another small shed to accommodate our other tools, and it's only growing. Right next to that, we have the swap shop, the beloved swap shop, where people can drop off things they no longer need, but don't think belong in the trash, and pick up anything you want. You don't have to drop something off to pick something up. So it's a great program for waste diversion. 100%. All of this stuff is not going in the trash. Even better, it's a program for social resilience. Some people come every day, some people come every week. Volunteers run the swap shop. They open it, they bring everything in, they organize it, they clean it. And it is a great place for people to come, and who maybe are lonely at home, or maybe just need some low-key social interaction, and want to come and check out things or deliver things. And so last year alone, we had over 10,000 visits to the swap shop. And so it's a fantastic program. Everything we do, we're striving to drive people towards our goals, waste reduction, electrification, but also build community connections, build community resilience at the same time.
Absolutely.
We also have the repair fairs. Both city has repair fairs. Again, here's a plug for South Portland has its annual repair fair on February 24th, from 10 to 1 at the main library. And this is a fantastic event. These events are catching on, and people love them. It is people who know how to repair things volunteer their time, and so that other people can bring in things that they might have given away, or they might have tossed away because they thought, oh, this is broken. But they can come and get it repaired at no cost. In some cases, people take stuff back to their shops and say, oh, I don't have enough time, but I can take it back for you, and just get things repaired. And again, while they're getting things repaired, this is connecting community members to community members, which is so important right now. And so it's everything from lamps to sweaters to woodworking stuff to small appliances, vacuum, stuff like that. These are great events, and I think people really appreciate them.
Yeah, and for sure. In Portland, we're supporting a community organization, right, for repair, that has repair fairs are all around the city. Is it pretty frequently, almost monthly. So sometimes we helped find them a host site, like maybe coordinate with the community centers to make sure there's a location to do it. But again, as Julie mentioned, the building those connections is super important. And I think community-led initiatives are vital to do that. So I think when neighbors are working together, it's more powerful than like cities directing people to do things. It just has legs and builds those connections and builds community leadership at the grassroots level when people take on these types of projects at the community level. Let's move right along here. The next big move, number 4, is to build better buildings. In doing our greenhouse gas inventories, we know that 60% of emissions in Portland and South Portland come from building emissions. So it's really important to have policies and strategies that can reduce emissions in that area. So in that regard, both Portland and South Portland were very, very strong advocates for upgrading building efficiency codes. So Julie and I were both at the table at the MUBEC meetings and at the legislature to get when the state adopted the first ever um, stretch code that communities could adopt that require energy performance higher than the base code. And so we're still leading in that regard. Both cities have our energy stretch code adopted, which currently is 15% better than the 2021 IECC, which is the state base code. And that improves the building efficiency for new buildings in our cities by 30 to 35%. So we're really trying to work towards reducing emissions from future buildings. And then also, it's really important that we'd mentioned kind of earlier that it's important that we have development standards that make sure that our buildings are ready for the future of climate change. So more able to deal with high heat, able to deal with different flooding from both sea level rise, but also from stormwater flooding and from increasing rain events. So we're looking at, we have adopted a number of standards that ensure that's the case. So buildings have to be in flood zones have to be built higher, but also they need to build and manage stormwater more effectively so they're not contributing to flooding downstream from their building. We've adopted standards that require more strategies to reduce heat island effects. So more greenery, less impervious surfaces, cool roofs are required now in Portland for new construction. So just ways to like help make our future buildings more resilient, for sure. And moving to, and one of the ways we do that here in Portland is we have an energy benchmarking ordinance. So any building 20,000 square feet or more is required to calculate their energy use and their water use for the year and report it back to our office. And we use that data to share it back with them, really, and to look for opportunities where the building owners can reduce their costs to make them, more competitive, so they're not spending a lot of extra money on heating and cooling their buildings that could be invested into hiring staff or doing their business. Also, it reduces emissions from the building sector. So we're really committed to this program as a way to have connection with the commercial building owners. So it's really, the commercial buildings are again one of they are the major place for emissions in our community. So working, in collaboration with the property owners and trying to inform them of different practices that can reduce their costs. And they're the ones who have to make the investments to reduce the emissions. So just helping to educate the building owners, like why it's in their best interest, both financially and then from a climate perspective to make those investments. So we're going to continue to work on that. And we're hoping this is the year. We've been working really closely with CMP for a number of years to improve their data platform so that all of the multi-tenant commercial buildings can have streamlined access to their whole building aggregated data. And we're confident that this is the year that will come to fruition. So again, we're just really pleased to have this connection and with our commercial property owners and drive energy efficiency in the commercial sector.
Great. Number 5 is of our 6 big moves is nourish ecosystems that nourish us. And we're both doing quite a lot around ecosystem improvements. Both Portland and South Portland have land care management ordinances that restrict the use of chemical pesticides and fertilizers. And so those ordinances set the standards for what we don't want to have on our landscapes. And they set organic land care as a standard that we want people to adhere to. That's what the ordinances do. Then we have a lot of programs that say, okay, we're gonna help you sort of move into more resilient ecosystems and learn how to do it. So Portland, land care is about nourishing our ecosystems, but it's all about the greener that we can make things, the more trees we can introduce, that mitigates the heat island effect that is a growing problem in the cities. So it's twofold. Well, it's threefold, because the other thing is, how do we build community connections around ecosystems? And so, in addition to our land care management ordinances that restrict the use of pesticides and fertilizers, and also our ordinances set soil quality standards for new development. And it's like a small piece of it, but I feel like it has a really big impact, because what usually happens in new development is that, they take away the good soil, they put sort of mediocre soil, they compact it down, and then they just throw fast growing grass seed on it. And so what we've said is, hey, it has to be decompacted. It has to have um, 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 biological, organic content in it, and it has to um, have a certain pH that is going to enable plants to thrive. In addition to that, Portland over the past 5 years has planted 892 trees throughout the city, but particularly prioritizing sort of low equity areas where we know traditionally there's higher heat island effects. South Portland has enacted a tree protection ordinance in 2023 to preserve trees and wooded ecosystems, to protect what we have, and then slowly grow them over time. And then, in addition to that, South Portland over the past 4 years has had one of my favorite programs called Resilient Yards, where we get volunteer coaches to work one-on-one with residents and homeowners to remove parts of the grassy areas of their yards and plant native pollinator plants. And so in the picture you see, in the first year, we opened it up to vegetable gardens and rain gardens, and it was a really big program. And so we're planting a rain garden at this person's property where there's particular problems with runoff from the street. And so again, social connections, building ecological resilience, and moving people towards our goals.
Our next one, the last of the big moves, of course, is connecting people to places. We want to make sure that people can get around the community with all forms of transportation, not just driving vehicles. So some important steps we've taken in that regard. One of I think the most significant ones is the merger of the South Portland bus system with Metro. So we have a single regional transit agency that is going to serve both communities. It happened just about a little over a year ago now. So I think Metro is developing plans and working with the communities to really relook at the routes to make them more efficient, to make it easier to travel maybe between South Portland and Portland, and make commuting by bus and make transportation by bus that much more effective. So really pleased to see that, and have both cities now part of Metro, and leading that as a regional transportation network. And also our communities are looking at complete streets programs, like how do we make sure that people feel safe and comfortable, and we're accommodating all different types of transportation in our streets. So like looking at and adding bike lanes, adding multi-use paths, making the street network safer by looking at elements of Vision Zero. So how do we're really trying really hard to make amendments to reduce traffic, or hopefully eliminate traffic fatalities and injuries as people use our transportation system. So that's definitely a focus and priority for the Portland City Council and our transportation team, and lots of different things coming in there. In fact, in Portland, we're undertaking now a comprehensive transportation plan that there'll be lots of opportunity for the public to have input on. And our Sustainability and Transportation Committee will be the forum for that over the course of the next year. So certainly invite people to stay tuned to that, and work collaboratively with the city on implementing the elements of Vision Zero and complete streets. And then what's next? Oh, I guess I'm supposed to keep
What is
going.
next?
What is next? So one of the
Well, we're not going to slow down.
no, we're not. So, really, just we've had five amazing years, and we just sort of scratched the surface, and we'll give a little summary of a bunch of the programs that we've been implementing over the past 5 years. But again, I meant there's like we've made some progress, we've made a lot of progress, but it's really important that we do even more. So there's things we're going to start working on. So I mentioned that we have our climate vulnerability assessment that was adopted as part of One Climate Future. So right now we're updating it. The data is a little out of date because it was from mostly was from around 2017. So we're embarking on a process right now to update all of the all of the data from the vulnerability assessment. So we have fresh 2025 data to work with for the next phase of planning. And also, we're going to incorporate a bunch of new data. So we currently have an RFP out on the street for a comprehensive survey of all of the shoreline of Portland and South Portland, from the Falmouth Town Line to the Cape Elizabeth Town Line, including all of the islands. So we're going to have a really strong understanding of what type of shoreline do we have, and where is it, and what is it, natural? Is it a bluff? Is it a beach? Is it a rocky edge? What if we have constructed shoreline? Is it a seawall, or what is it, and what condition it is in? And then we'll be able to incorporate that into a giant GIS database that will be able to calculate what is the risk factors for all of our public infrastructure in both Portland and South Portland. And that's going to be an amazing tool for us to have data as we launch into the next phase of One Climate Future.
Yeah, that tool is going to be really important for because once we build the tool, Portland's going to be able to use it the way they need it. South Portland's going to be able to use it the way we need it in order to prioritize our capital investments over the next several years and our planning and our policies. Um, yeah, and so like lastly, we've come together a lot. Our teams meet monthly at the very least, but we meet quite frequently more than that. And what we've been talking about with 70% of the strategies underway and with the world significantly changing over the last 5 years, it's time to think about an update. And so our next big move is to seek funding in this year in 2026 to update One Climate Future with a resilience plan in 2027. So that's where we're headed, and we will restart the process, or at least keep going with the process with volume 2.
Yeah, I would just add that, we've spoken a lot about community resilience, and I think the major storms we had in January of 2024 was a very large wake up call for people up and down the coast of Maine. In Portland, in South Portland, we certainly experienced damage, and we had the highest tide ever recorded. And just sort of underscoring the need to really make sure that we're planning really well and preparing for the impacts of sea level rise. We're committed to preparing for 3.9 feet of sea level rise by 2100. And so, what does that mean for our communities? What steps do we need to take to make sure that our shoreline is ready for that, and other parts of the community are ready for that? So having this, having the tool we just mentioned is going to be vital. But again, a lot more public engagement and talking to stakeholders who are going to be impacted by this is going to be vital. I think what the importance of that is no one's coming to save us per se. The decisions about how we make our communities more resilient are really, really local decisions. Local policymakers are going to have to allocate funds, and local people are going to have to develop the programs and the strategies to implement resilience. So it's vital that we start having these conversations, because the rise of the seas is increasing. The pace of sea level rise is increasing, and storms are becoming more problematic and more frequent. So as we move into the next 5 years, that's going to be really on our minds. So look for opportunities to share thoughts and ideas about that moving forward. And looks like we do have some time
Well,
left. Oh, go ahead, Julie.
we've 10 minutes, but
Yep.
before we move on to questions, which I'm excited to answer, just to say we really need a big focus on resilience, but we're not going to
No,
let go of
right,
the mitigation side. There's going to
right,
be the same level of effort for electrifying everything, moving our buildings and our transportation, waste reduction as well, and land use. Well, electrifying and waste reduction is going to be also a big part of the plan.
definitely. So let's stop sharing so we can see everybody and hopefully have questions from the public. Or if anyone even has thoughts about where we should be prioritizing the next few years, happy to talk about anything that comes to mind.
I don't see how to raise my hand, but I'll jump in
Speak
here.
right up.
Go ahead,
Uh,
Julia.
hi, you guys. Happy New Year. Awesome. This has just been so full of joy and good news and hope that I think we all needed. So thank you guys for putting this together so much and for doing all this incredible work. I just want to say congratulations, and it's just overwhelming and in a good way, where a lot of stuff is overwhelming in a not so good way right now. And so thank you. Great job.
Great. I see. Actually, I
Thanks,
want to
Julia.
give a shout out to kudos to John Hink, who's on the call here. John was a city councilor when we adopted our energy benchmarking ordinance, was really the leader of getting that established. And so thanks, John, for the leadership back when we started that program. And we're continuing to try to make it work. And it looks like you go ahead and if you want to say a few words there or a question.
Yeah, thanks for the shout out to the whole crew in both cities. I congratulate you. That was an excellent presentation with a lot of great news. I turned off my camera because my connection is poor when I'm using too many resources. The question relates to energy benchmarking. I was
Yeah,
also happy, by the way, to hear about the stretch code. But on the energy benchmarking, Troy, even though
yep.
you alluded to partners and building owners being participants, have you quantified that at all? And is there anything to report in terms of how those building owners may have used information from benchmarking to improve their buildings? I mean, how much of that has actually occurred? And also, as an aside, perhaps for Julie, I thought there was benchmarking at one point for the area near the mall in South Portland. So you might also have some experience from that.
Great. Yeah, so actually that's a great point. So yeah, as I mentioned during the call, one of our goals with the benchmarking ordinance is to get people to take a look at data and take action with it. And so we actually have seen people take action. We've had a few different vendors, a few different building owners report that they looked at their data and used that as a foundation for doing energy projects. They discovered that they could indeed save money. Um, so that was great news. There's been a few of those, and rising interest, I think, as people, I think particularly as energy costs rise. So we've recently done some webinars, had great attendance from energy benchmarking community of, people who are doing energy benchmarking. We've had workshops with Efficiency Maine to share resources that they have available. We also did one on on-site energy opportunities. How can people use solar, geothermal, battery storage? And that was really well attended. Again, we were pleased to see, as you point out, John, the people who are reporting their energy are many of them are the ones who attended those webinars. So I think we're moving in the right direction there, and people are becoming more conscious of that. And I think as we engage more frequently and streamline the reporting process, we're going to get more and more engagement with that.
John, we had a benchmarking ordinance. We no longer have a benchmarking ordinance because of because there's because we've been waiting on CMP to develop a whole building, providing energy data for or electricity data for the whole building, and that has been a labor over the last several years. And so it brings up a really good point, and one that we didn't talk about yet, but that is that it one climate future I think helped a little bit inform Maine Won't Wait. And now Maine Won't Wait also helps, One Climate Future. And it's a synergy that makes both state programs and, city level programs so much more successful. So this plan really depends on partnerships. And I think when we can get the technical capability to have building owners get whole building data, we will absolutely bring back benchmarking because in and of itself, benchmarking has shown that people make different decisions when they see their energy use compared to other buildings. But where it really, really comes into play and has a huge impact is after a few years of benchmarking, you can start look at maybe setting some performance standards for buildings that aren't performing as well, at different thresholds. And so, yeah, that's where we're at.
That's all great to hear. And I can't help but say, even though I think the positive approach that you both take and your crews take, somebody from the public like me can say it's pathetic that CMP does not make the needed data readily available after all these years. And I don't know whether there needs to be a public pressure campaign or whether we should take to heart, Troy, that you have the feeling they are coming around and this will be the year they do it. If they don't, I honestly think those of us in the public should be doing everything we can to lean on CMP.
Right. I don't disagree, John. If this isn't the year, I'll talk to you. So,
It's been
LOL.
so close for so long.
but I think like our recent conversations, they indicate that it's ready to go. So, if it's not, then I will not be a happy person.
We didn't talk that much about all of our partners, but we can do, food waste program because we have Garbage to Garden and EcoMaine and Exeter AgriCycle. We can do great resilience programs because we have great data from the Gulf of Maine Research Institute. We have resilience fellows and long range transportation planning from like from the Greater Portland Council of Government. There are so many fantastic partners that I feel like, this is our core solid team, but the team is so much broader and wider than that.
Right. And then on the one thing that's super important is that climate action and resilience is a priority in Portland, South Portland, because members of the public think it is and share that concern with their elected officials who continue to prioritize climate action as a goal in our community. So kudos to you, everyone on the call as well, who care a lot about this issue and share their thoughts and feelings with their elected officials.
If
Maybe
I
we
may, I
get to a
just wanted
difficult
to, oh,
question.
Oh, so go ahead,
Go
Kate.
ahead.
oh, thanks. I'm from Greater Portland Landmarks, and I just wanted to add my voice to the praise and thanks for all of this. It's really, really exciting. And I think, as we know, reusing existing buildings can be a very sustainable approach. And I hope as, you're looking at ways to build better buildings, ways also to help our existing buildings be more efficient and, deal with those emissions. And we also would really love to be a partner in that in any way that we can help raise awareness and help build support for that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's a great point. I mean, there's so much embedded carbon in existing buildings to knock them down and start over is not necessarily the right decision.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, I think that's a wonderful point, and we'd be happy to work with you and Landmarks on that moving
Oh,
forward.
great. Thanks.
Kate,
Yes.
so much of this has started over a cup of coffee or a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So we'll grab that.
I
Yeah.
welcome it.
That's where everything starts.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, great. Looks like it's just rolling into 10 o'clock. And again, appreciate everyone from coming on today to hear kind of us wax about the last 5 years of One Climate Future, and again, appreciate the community involvement and the community support and collaboration. And stay tuned for more opportunities to engage with us, especially as we think about, what's the next iteration of One Climate Future look like. So again, thanks a lot. Look forward to working with you over in the future, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, everybody.